under the guidance of a Qigong master, you can actually get into various postures and go into a meditative state and activate the dantian and store energy. Literally store it. It's kind of a combination of breathing energy in and bringing light into the body and concentrating it here.
Okay.
And then with the microcosmic orbit and other practices, you can learn to move that physical energy. And the dantian's fairly closely connected to the root energy at the base of spine, the first chakra, which essentially connects the bottom part of the body to the top. And it's not a simple answer. There's a lot of other things to talk about it, but you asked about the bone marrow.
Yes.
In order to, once we learn how to circulate the energy internally, like it's kind of like, I call it plugging into my battery charger. I get into I activate the system, I do some specific practices, activate the energy, really activate it so I can feel it very clearly in my body. Then I can concentrate on different parts of the body with different breathing techniques, different postures, and different movements to circulate the energy in different manners throughout the body for different purposes. And one of those purposes is to stimulate the saliva production in the mouth. And when we do the Qigong practice, the key is to keep the tip of the tongue back against the roof of the mouth, against the top teeth. Keep the connection so the qi, the energy, can flow down the front. When the mouth is open, it breaks that connection. But you can have the mouth open slightly as long as the tongue connects, and it keeps the circuit clear, so the energy can circulate. And as you develop that and practice it, you'll notice that you start stimulating a great deal of saliva production.
Well, what is the purpose in stimulating saliva production?
Well, I could talk about that for an hour probably, but just in the context
briefly,
of this conversation,
yes,
is that in the instructions in the practice, they tell you to swallow when the saliva production starts increasing, swallow it as much as it comes. It's really healthy, and that's the thing that Mantak Chia refers to as the golden elixir.
Is that because it's rich with enzymes?
It's a lot of things.
Okay.
There are a lot of enzymes in the saliva, absolutely, but it has to do with protein synthesis. It has to do with energetic signals. It has to do with the neural net. It has to do with activation of all types of things going on, depending on the level of accomplishment of the practitioner.
So that might be connected to, I'm thinking maybe that's why the Asian practice is to really thoroughly chew the food to stimulate saliva practice for production for enzymes, but also just by eating and chewing and chewing and chewing, you're stimulating the saliva, which is creating all kind of benefits that most people don't even know about. Is that correct?
Yes and no. It does create a lot of benefits, but the saliva production during Qigong practice is different. And the reason I can say that is it tastes different.
Okay.
That's my personal experience. I can taste it very clearly when the qi is really active and it's being produced during the practice. It's a hard thing to describe, but when I taste it, I know the difference. That's all I can say. So,
okay.
As far as like enzyme production, one of my teachers actually was a PhD in molecular biology, my Qigong teachers, and he was actually taking saliva samples from all of his students before, during, and after Qigong practice.
Interesting.
And logging the data. And he never told me his final results on the study, but it's clear to me that it affects protein synthesis and enzyme production.
I see.
And I think it's tied also to hormone production and balancing throughout the body,
yes.
which is an important ingredient for women in particular. But going back to your first question, how does it work on a bone marrow?
Mm-hmm.
It takes time to develop the skill to affect it. But as I understand it, it's one of the long-term benefits of Qigong practice. It doesn't happen in the short term.
Okay.
It's a gradual thing that starts improving over a period of time. And anytime that you work with the energy on that level, you're also completely integrating the neural net. Because as soon as you activate the energy, the neural net gets activated to a certain level. And depending on the accomplishment of the practitioner and depending on what specific practice you're doing at that point in time, it will activate different aspects of the energy body. So it's not a simple answer, but that's essentially what happens.
Okay. Well, that's very informative. I want to thank you, Michael, for taking time to explain some of those things. And I think that what you just said is amounts to an entire list of reasons why Qigong practice is good for everyone.